Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to a very, very interesting moment where we'll be having, of course, our breakdown, your breakdown. My name is Ono Tunde Lopez, and today I am with an amazing personality. I call him an in-house analyst. He will be taking us through a lot of process, giving us different ideologies or different angles to various conversations. And I call it the moment, real talks. And of course, I'll be welcoming Mr. Dimeji. Dimeji, how are you doing?
Thank you. I'm good.
Wow, I can see you're ready. You're ready for it.
Yes, I am. Thank you for having me.
Okay. So to start with, it's no news that a lot of things have been going on social media back to back. Things have been going on. And one thing that we know for certain that has been on the face of everybody is the outrage of the Benue massacre at the moment. And I think for a start, let's give a flesh to this for a lot of people that do not have an idea of this. So in June 13, 2025, there was a severe attack or massacre by gunmen at Yelegua and of course local governments in Benue State. And I would tag this one of the most deadliest moments in Nigeria at the moment, because this is not the first time we've had something like this happen. We've had it happen in 2021. We had it happen in 2022. And we also had something we'll call again in May 2025 this year, before we had the huge break that destroyed the camel's back at the moment, which is our major concentration. But for a lot of people that do not know how this even started, this old drama of the gunmen, the herdsmen, all started in 1965, all with the struggle of land ownership and water acquisition. And this actually was something that started as a minor stuff. It didn't start as something serious. And I guess the government and the people around there didn't take it serious. And it actually, it actually broke loose to something we call massacre now, that we see gunmen coming to locations and attacking lives. And this situation that happened is really unique because we could see that what happened in 2021 and what happened in 2025 are similar. We could see that the attacks are at the same region, the same location. So it really got me thinking, what is the government doing? What is happening? What actions are being taken? And that's what will bring me to your conversation. I want to really know, because I know that President Tinubu is aware of the situation and he has been getting backlash, because what would you say is even the sudden slow reaction concerning this, and what is the part of leadership as a head of state or legitimate leader in this country stand of in terms of Tinubu?
Oh, okay. Thank you. I think before we get into that, I think it's important that we contextualize this, just like you give us the background. We have to understand that this has been going on even before President Tinubu, and like you said, what started in 1965 just evolved over time. But it was about real estate, basically, about
lands, water, resources.
That was what it was about, Then it morphed into grazing issue, because the Fulanis, they take their cattle around and they graze across towns,
different local governments.
They graze across towns and encroach on people's farms, and the farmers naturally rejected the open grazing, and that was what brought the policy that open grazing. Some states banned open grazing in their state, including Benue State.
Absolutely.
So open grazing is banned in Benue State, right? But then again, Fulani herdsmen still graze to take their cattle to people's lands to just destroy their farm and all of that stuff, So, and that is what has been causing the recent killings that we have been seeing and all of that. And because this has not been dealt with decisively by successive governments, is why we're seeing what just happened with over, there are different numbers, but some say over 100, some say over 200 people. According to the Pope, the report the Pope got from the Catholic missions in Benue State, over 200 people died in the most recent attack. And it's really unfortunate that successive government did not find a solution to that. And unfortunately, too, this is going to happen again if the President Tinubu's government deal with this decisively. And which is why people criticizing the past administrations, usually what they do is just give statements, condemn the attacks, and say all kinds of stuff from their palatial offices and all of that. That's what everybody does. I believe that people were just paying lip service to this crisis. Because if we value human life in this country, it would have been dealt with before. And that was the same thing President Tinubu did when this happened. Just condemned the attack. He said enough is enough.
At first, he didn't even talk. He was silent. Social media was like what's happening? Like a whole Nigeria, because I tagged him Nigeria himself, was silent. So what would you say was, in your own angle as an analyst, what would you say was the whole saga coming? Because we know that we've seen something related to this from Rivers State. And a lot of people have come out to say this might just be a political and unempathic president and maybe a political saga because we've seen something happen in Rivers State. There was state of emergency. A lot of attention was put to this. But why is this different?
Well, because, like you said, Rivers State has... there's political interest in River State. And so we all know the politics ahead of 2027 that they are playing. Everybody's playing in River State. So River State was important, and that was why they declared state of emergency in River State. But for Benue State, it's not the same, right? But and that is also what that also tells us is that most of our leaders are not empathetic. So leadership is beyond title, beyond position. At the core of leadership really is empathy. So if we don't have value for human life, it was until the outrage on social media and traditional media everywhere that the president decided. The president was scheduled to commission projects in Kaduna for Wednesday.
Yes.
So it was because of the outrage, he suspended what he was going to do in Kaduna to go to Benue State. So it was an afterthought.
Wow.
So it was an afterthought. It's heartbreaking though. It was an afterthought. So the president, you would rather go and commission projects
than the lives
than to empathize with these people. So it goes to show the kind of value we place on human lives in this country. And, thank God that they listened anyway. Thank God that he's now finally going
It's not just only him listening. We want to know the after results of all this, because he can go there and just say, oh, we've seen it. That's the end. So what would you think might possibly be the after results?
Well, before he announced that he was going to Benue State,
yes,
the CDS, Chief of Defense Staff, has already mobilized his people. They are already in Benue State and already trying to. And the CDS also mentioned that there are some people in the military that are also sabotaging their efforts in Benue State and all of that. And they are dealing with that, So why I'm saying that, thank God that the president, because you see, the body language of the president is very important.
Matters.
It really matters. So, and apart from that, the optics it has to show that the president is actively involved in this and all of that. Because if the president still doesn't go to Benue, unfortunately, we are all just going to shout, and nothing will still happen.
And the funny thing about this story that really got me cracked up more is the fact that he mentioned that in his tweet or on Instagram, he mentioned that, I was told. And that really sounded so off. So are we saying the government or even the state, the state people, the governors, the presidents, are literally not aware of things that happen around this? Is that what we're saying?
Well, see,
wow.
They have a lot of people who surround them. And they only let them see or hear what we call them gatekeepers, right? So sometimes if you don't have hands-on leaders, a leader who is, who is leading from the front lines, it's possible that they are not
aware.
in tune with, they may be aware, but they do not know the weight
Gravity. That's
of
another thing.
the weight of what is going on and what they need to do. If the people around him trivialize it,
They will let him know.
so if they trivialize the issue, he wouldn't see the need to go or to take action. So
Wow.
a lot of people who surround these people, everybody's fighting for their own pockets. So they just keep some information and let it only share only what probably
All right.
benefits them.
I think we shouldn't. I like the fact that I like the angle we're coming out from, but I want us to also come from the empathetic angle now. So let's talk about the humanitarian angle and the respite for these individuals. Because as of this morning, I think I read something that a woman from Benue State lost 3 children in the scenario. And I know that beyond, saying that these individuals need to, a proper attention needs to be done to this. What are the other solutions we need to do at hand? What are the things we need to do to help people in Benue? Because Benue is bleeding at the moment.
We need a lot of hands on deck in terms of the humanitarian organizations and the to help out, and we need a lot of relief in Benue State for the victims of the attack. Where definitely there are a lot of IDP camps already in Benue State. If we have to provide more, we now have to provide more and move people to where they can be a little safer. Then provide relief materials to a lot of these people. And another thing is also to ensure that people that are providing these relief materials to, there is accountability. You know how Nigeria is, that the things, the relief materials may not even adequately get to the people who really need it and all of that. So that is what we must do. While we do, in fact, we must, is a two-edged sword. We must simultaneously also be trying to bring the attackers to book and to start the process or to find a lasting solutions to this. The part of the things the president said he was going to do when he goes to Benue is to meet with the community leaders, meet with different community leaders, different factions, to make sure that they find a solution. So, but one of the things that I believe that should be enforced in Benue State is the open grazing, law. Why in 2025 you cannot be taking your cattle to different places to go and graze and destroy people's properties and all in the name of grazing. That's why that we have ranching. So
and
all these things need to be put in place.
We're talking about gradually. We would say that we actually see this a bit in Lagos too, but maybe not as drastic as it's.
Yes. So generally, this is also one of the problems that we have in this country is, when we make laws, we do not enforce the laws. It's not enough to make laws. You have to enforce it to make sure that people are there to. A lot of people just pay attention to only what benefits them in some type of way. And we need to change that attitude in this country, to enforce this open ban on open grazing. Nobody needs to be encroaching on other people's properties, in the name of, you are doing your own business, for crying out loud. You are doing your own business, then you want to come and disturb my own business. How does that work? And also, there is also the big man coloration to this thing, because all of these herdsmen don't own the cattle. These cattle are owned by so-called big men. You see what I'm saying? So, and these herdsmen are mostly armed in the name of, because of cattle rustlers. So they are armed, they go, they do what, and I believe that they are harmed by their bosses.
Definitely.
You know what I'm saying? So this so-called big men, they have the resources to acquire a ranch, set up a ranch for what they are doing for their business, But then again, unfortunately, now the government needs to come in to say that let's provide something for them, let's provide this for them. Who is providing some of this infrastructure for other small business? It's your personal business.
I understand your angle where you're coming from.
It's a personal business. Take
it's
care of
like
your
doing
business.
the right thing.
You don't want, exactly.
You ought not to be told to do the right thing.
So I think the successive government, including this government, is just kind of is a pat on the back for these guys, because these guys, again, they need them for elections, right? They make up the numbers, the Northerners, some the Fulanis, all of these guys, So there is successive government is always careful, sensitive to how they handle them, to handle that and all of that. So there is no that political will, and it's also still boils down to the quality of leadership that we've had, and people who are only just about self-ambition, regardless of whose ox is God. I mean, they just want to get to that position, and that's all. This is just self-interest. Nobody really cares about the common.
Talking about self-interest, I'm looking at it from another angle. I'm also trying to look at the angle of the individuals affected, and also the herdsmen, the people who did this evil work. So I'm looking at it. Would we say unemployment and poverty is a major force or a play in this? Because these people are actually young guys. People that are vulnerable, people that can, okay, I'll give you 30K, do this thing. They will do it. So what would you say is, would you actually attach poverty and unemployment as a fault in the government's part, being a vessel, a tool in the hands of these individuals to act the way they do? Because we can't all blame to them. A hungry man is a devil workshop, as they always say.
Okay. So, I'll say it this way.
Okay.
Poverty has always been a weapon Nigerian leaders or politicians use for, it doesn't matter whether it's Fulani men, even elections and all of that. It's the only reason someone will give you a cup of rice and say, vote for me. You know what I'm saying? So it's all about, it's always been, everything is about them weaponizing poverty. Do you understand? So that is there, in every area, apart from the herdsmen killing and all of that. Even with Boko Haram, all of these young guys that they recruit is, once they offer them this
better life,
seemingly better life, offer them something, they easily
get
swayed and become assailant and all of that. So there are poor people in every country. In the US, there are homeless people.
Absolutely.
There are people on the street. There are poor people in every country. You see what I'm saying? So we cannot now say because of poverty is why you have to take another person's life.
Absolutely.
So that can never be an excuse to justify killings or justify all of these things. Because what you are invariably telling me is, I'm not a billionaire.
So I should just go to the
You see what I'm saying? I should just go and because I think people are poor in Nigeria. You see what I'm saying? So we cannot make it about that. We cannot make it about that. It's just people being evil. and not being, there is no system that checks that. There's no system that the people that the attacks that they've carried out in the past, people have gone free. So there is no deterrent. If there is no deterrent, people would continue to do these things. It's the same thing you have with Boko Haram, right? Initially, when Boko Haram started, I remember that story where somebody said when they told Jonathan at the time, the body language, they didn't take it seriously. They didn't take it seriously. They didn't take it seriously at that time. And it festered until it became what it became now. You see, so that's the problem. When we can't deal with that situation decisively and nail
Tackle it at once.
it to the board at once. If once we don't do that, it begins to fester,
And become big.
and become big and all of that. And the same, that's what we're seeing with this Benue situation. Everybody's talking about 2027 elections. It's all about politics. We politicize
Strategy.
everything in this country, and over 200 lives have been lost. If you, everyone that is defending, for example, everyone that is defending this government, that is defending President Tinubu, if any member of their family, if he eats home,
they will take it.
you will know what it means to lose someone in that
Absolutely.
way. Like people who lost 5 family members at once. So if it happens to you, some people, it's until Nigeria happens to them that they really know that
The
something
inclusiveness
something is this.
is
You see,
happening.
that's when it hits home that you really know the gravity. But I mean,
It's so sad.
it's sad. It's sad.
As much as it's sad, we have to move on to another very interesting topic, which is about the Dangote refineries and the petrochemical infrastructure, which is to become a major marketer all around. And I know that this is a big issue at the moment.
Yeah.
People are having different, especially the marketers, they're the one feeling the heat right now. So to start with, I want you to also, I'm very sure you're very knowledgeable about the old Dangote story. I want you to give us a good, fresh background on the Dangote story first.
Okay, so Dangote has always been. There's always been that.
Patch for everything.
Master
of all.
That narrative hanging around Dangote about him monopolizing the
Yes.
economy and all of that. That has always been there. But then again, one thing I always say is that how do you blame a man that is preferring a solution to a problem, even though is to his benefit? But the problem is there. You didn't solve it, right? And a man comes and say he wants to solve it, and you say that he's trying to monopolize the economy, and we should then you start crying foul and all of that stuff, because I believe that is a system that you have that can really check people. If they leave all of us, I really don't want to stop at the traffic lights when it turns red. I just want to keep driving.
Exactly.
You see what I'm saying? But there is a law that compels me.
To
I
be
know that
organized.
if I go,
Be penalized.
I know I will be penalized. So there is that the system is in place to checkmate me as much as I want to go wild. But I can't do that. But there's a system that checks me, ensures that I don't do that. So that's the same story with Dangote. He has his way. He has his way with power, and he builds these industries. And yes, no one man should be. A whole country like Nigeria shouldn't have to depend
solely on one person.
On one person.
I totally agree with you.
You see, so because what that is going to cause is, he can do and undo. He can do anything, So, and we would have little or no options to compare. So, I'm saying that there is no system, or there are no other businessmen
that challenging
who can, before he started the refinery, who would take the bold step to go and sink their money
into
such
business.
You see what he went through when the whole
who
wants to do that? You see,
it's really risky.
Yes, it's risky. So
what is the part of the government in all of this? Because I'm just wondering, as much as a person has decided to take the burden to be like the savior of the society, but I still believe no man is an island.
Yeah.
I feel that in everything revolving, there should be a space for the government. So I'm thinking, is the government involved in anything there?
Yeah, so you know the story of the Dangote refinery.
Okay.
The government, the NNPC, had a stake in Dangote refinery.
Okay.
The government has a pie,
So-
a bite of the pie, right? But then again, it has his way with power. There are vested interest in Dangote's businesses. People, at the highest echelon of power, they are they have vested interest in some of this, so they will let Dangote pass in a lot of way. They will give him, they will let him pass inside. And this recent issue about Dangote getting into the downstream sector is going to disrupt it. Now it's going to be distributing distributing petrol, diesel nationwide. Now, and it's going to launch. It's going to be using CNG tankers to do all of those things, and it's also investing in building gas stations at different points.
This is actually very good. But would you say at the moment this is a good step in the right direction? Because as much as it's good, it should tell us that Nigeria is leveling up in the foreign scene.
Yeah.
But I'm also looking at it in the angle of the smaller powers, the smaller individuals that also the smaller markets. How does it's going to be a huge blow for them as well because they can't level up.
Yes, of course. As Dangote is getting into nationwide distribution now, the honest truth is that a lot of marketers are going to be out of business.
Okay.
Some they can't.
No jobs.
Yeah, they are going to be out of business. You see, even the marketers themselves, because yesterday the story came out that they were in different. They held different meetings yesterday, back-to-back marathon meetings. Trying to see how they are going to handle, because it's a huge blow on their business, and they've had their run too. And just like Pengason said recently that oil marketers are exploiting Nigerians. They say right now the pump price should be at about 700 to 750 naira. So it's more or less like Dangote with this. What Dangote is starting now, Dangote is going to disrupt that market, that sector, that downstream sector is going to disrupt it, and some of them are going to be out of business. That's just a simple truth. So now that Dangote is getting into the entire value chain, I believe that not one person should really be allowed to play across the value chain, right? But then again, what's the alternative we have? Because
he's helping, let's be frank, he's useful.
That's what I'm telling you. It's
like saying that you want to eat your cake and have it. It's not possible.
That's exactly what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying. So it's Dangote, at the end of the day, Dangote is a businessman.
Absolutely.
You see what I'm saying? So as much as Dangote, and let's be honest though, Dangote also has investment in Tanzania, in other African countries. How many African entrepreneurs are sinking money into industries and plants in Africa? How many? It's only foreigners that come and do some of these things.
Absolutely.
But Dangote and a few people are doing these things.
Absolutely.
At the end of the day, too, they are business people. They have to make profit. They have to make profit for their shareholders. So, as much as a businessman, right, I want to make sure that my business makes profit.
As much as you're a political...
Let me give you that hypothetical... Empathy. See.
There's no empathy in business, right? You're a businessman, Mr. Dimeji.
This is what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying now. You are maybe you are NNPC chairman or something. And I have a refinery. I want to make profit. I have shareholders and all of that. Whatever favor that I can get from you that can help me make profit, I will, even though as much as I want to make impact and make life easier for the people. Do you understand what I'm saying? So it's two sides of this. I have to make sure that my bottom line is good enough to make my business sustainable, run, generate revenue. And I also make sure that I am bringing a level of succor to the people. In fact, that is where the empathy comes in. A typical businessman, a typical businessman doesn't really care about all of that. Honestly. All of us say that I didn't start business because of money. It's because I just want to. But let's be honest. Unless you are running a non-profit organization.
And this is not actually.
It's not.
It's not.
So he has to make his money. But then again, that is where government comes in. There has to be a system that makes sure that this businessman is not all greedy. Right? And at the same time, is profitable. Because if he's not profitable, is bad for the economy.
Absolutely.
Do you
And
see what
I
I'm
know
saying?
that
It will
for-
run out of
yes.
business, and the people will still suffer for it.
So we've spoken a lot about the Dangote part that it really needs a check and balance. Like in terms of, it needs a check in power, which is the government, to ensure that, okay, as much as you want to make a lot of money, you're not being greedy. And because a lot of, let's be frank, a lot of lives, a lot of individuals are in his hands at the moment. Any slight mistake or any slight wrong decision, people will pay for it. But as much as that goes,
Sorry.
Yes.
Let me really tie it back.
Okay.
We have refineries in this country. Our refineries have been moribund for years. We have sunk billions and billions of naira into this refinery.
refineries.
So recently, the Port Harcourt refinery started working, and eventually too, they came up with a story too that they could not produce this, that, and all of that stuff like that. So when we have
Refineries are not
refineries, we have
serious.
refineries, our refineries are not working, and somebody provided a refinery
That is working.
that is working. So us, the onus is on the government to make sure that we have functioning refineries. We also have relatively level playing field to other people who can come into that space to
Like a collaboration.
no, not collaboration, to compete.
Oh my God, this is a lot of money. You just mentioned now that
That's
even
what I'm saying.
Dangote doing this, it took a lot.
That's what I'm saying. So the government has to provide a level playing field to a large extent for other people to come into. They already gave licenses to some people to also start modular refineries and all of that stuff. So
Absolutely.
when everybody comes on, but the whole point is that market forces will determine price.
Oh.
So it's not that somebody will just
Just
wake
one
up that
person and
let's
it's
say
a lot.
that no, let's take it to 1,100 per liter and all of that. But if we have competition in that to a large extent, even though we have competition, there's nobody that can match Dangote's. But then again, it's better than not having at all. So it's better than we are not having refineries at all. Since Dangote came on stream, we've not been importing
What?
fuel.
Again, yes.
You see what I'm
There's
saying?
been a drastic change.
That's it. So these are some of the. So
Advantages.
when we are criticizing Dangote, you have to also be objective about some of
parts.
these things. You see, there's a lot Dangote is doing in this country.
It's the way
Cement.
it's the way you're really idealizing. Would I use the word idealizing? You're really
No, I don't.
rooting
I'm
for
not-
him.
No, I root for him because he is important to this economy. Even President Tinubu himself,
He knows it.
last, I think some weeks ago, he called Dangote, Femi Otedola, I think, is it
Wow.
Tony Emilu, about four of them. He
okay.
called them the four wise men of Nigerian economy.
Well, that's serious.
Because look at what the economy is like right now. These are major people that if anything happens to them,
There's a
the
big
whole
problem.
Nigeria is going to be in disarray. The whole economy is going to be a mess.
Wow. So now I want to, as much as I love this conversation, and I understand these individuals you mentioned are key players. Their breathing, their movement determines the core decisions in terms of the economic system of Nigeria. But I also want us to look in the angle of the economic displacement of those small players as well. As much as we are putting pressure on these individuals, we want you to come up. But I also want us to look at the empathetic aspects. Not everybody is financially, but trying to also do something for Nigeria, but trying to grow. So what comes the fate of the smaller players in this story?
Okay, so you have to also understand that in business there is really no fair game. You know, if all the time big companies crush small companies, right? Sometimes they buy them over. Sometimes they just do the same. They just do the same thing they are doing, and they just crush them. They run out of business. Is what is the nature of business. You have to first understand that it's the nature of business. But that's where I'll come back to the government.
Still the government.
The government that has to provide enabling environment for businesses to thrive and businesses to function, to operate fairly, to operate competitively.
For an example, I wouldn't totally agree a little bit with what you said.
Go ahead.
in the angle of, see, I believe that Nigeria is a capitalist and also a the other one, what's it called again? The capitalist and the, I've forgotten the other one, socialist economy. So when it comes to capitalism, you know that, okay, it's your rules, your business. Socialist is the government back. So in terms of this kind of business, I won't call it a socialist. It's a capital. It's your business, your rules. So I wouldn't say the government really has much to play. Like, it's your policy in this decision. So
no, what I mean by that, just like I mentioned earlier, is that again, first of all, we talked about the open grazing issue,
yes,
for example, and is it me that I own about 200 cattle, right? I own about 200 cattle, and for my 200 cattle and I don't have a ranch.
Just imagine.
And for my 200 cattle to survive, for them to grow to the point that I make money, I sell them off and all of that, they need to graze.
Absolutely.
You see what I'm saying? They need to graze. So my herders, we need to take my cattle around to graze. So is it me that will now say that is it me that will now enforce the ban on open grazing? It's not me, because it's going to affect my business.
Yes, absolutely.
Do you understand? It's going to affect my business. So it's government
okay, I have to put that.
That will have to enforce that to force me to do my business properly.
Okay, now I totally understand you. As much as it's private, there's still a little bit slight interference of the government.
If the government does not provide the enabling environment for us to do our business the way in a way that is relatively fair to everyone that is playing in that field, if there are no regulations, if there is no regulation in the banking sector, the CBN is the regulator in the banking sector. Okay. If there are no regulations in the banking sector, the banks will go wild.
Absolutely.
They will do anything. Do you understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So that's where I'm talking about where the government comes in. Regulations, providing an enabling environment for businesses and people to thrive and to compete effectively. But when those things are not in place, an average businessman wants to generate as much revenue he can generate. You understand what I'm saying? Even with the enforcement of some of these laws, people are still looking for a way to circumvent the system. So you are not even now enforcing the laws at all. So it's not me that I'm going to press you to enforce the law. It's you that you need to do, what you need to do so that we make all of us fall in line. So that's regulations that I mean by all of that. So
now we know that Dangote has decided to do to distribute all this stuff across board.
Yeah.
So people are looking at, particularly the marketers, they're looking at the fact that it might take a longer time to regulate across all those countries. So what do you think would be some of the barriers or some obstacles he might face in pushing this new initiative?
Dangote.
Yes. Because timing is also a factor, because it takes 4 days to distribute to all these countries we're talking about.
Yeah.
So
when they start, they may be that usually it's just the same thing with anything. You are going to have that teething problem, and Dangote has enough resources and enough clouds to immediately mitigate that whatever challenge it may be, So they already they're trying to build CNG stations in certain locations for the tankers to refuel and move to different locations and all of that. But I think that Dangote has the resources, he has the wherewithal to make it happen. There will be some teething problems, and Dangote they will fix it. That is not a serious issue for Dangote. The only big danger I see is for the small players, the oil marketers and all of that. They are going to feel the brunt of that. And and this shake-up is really a good thing. It's a good thing for all of us. It's a good thing in the end for the consumer.
Why?
It's a good thing in the end for consumer because now that the oil marketers that have been, according to Pengasson, they've been exploiting us, right? Now, if Dangote is playing that, everybody now it's a competition.
Yeah, everybody is waking up. I have to meet up.
You see what I'm saying? So everybody, there's a competition there.
Absolutely.
Even though they cannot fight Dangote. The best
So
thing
they
is
can't
to
fight
seek. No, they
Dangote.
can't. They
It's
cannot.
like an elephant with an ant.
They have to seek
Yes.
collaborations
Okay.
and all of that stuff.
All right. So before we're going to be wrapping it now, but I want you to give a final advice, because I know from the start to the end, all what we've emphasized is the importance of governments handling up or holding responsibilities, taking responsibility by the on and going for what they think is right or the right thing to do. So what would you advise the Nigerian government to do at the right time? Looking at the whole Dangote refineries, looking at the whole Benue saga, even in the global space, as we just discussed, government have very crucial roles to play in every single thing. So what would be your advice? Your advice to Nigerian government?
Basically, I think the government just needs to do what a government should do, which is, providing an enabling environment for businesses and people to thrive. So even though there are tough decisions that need to be made right now that this President Tinubu is doing, which is the result of which is the after effect of that, especially when he removes fuel subsidy, is what we're seeing with the economy and people declining purchasing power and all of that. That's what we're seeing, is the after effects of that. But then again, as much as the people are willing to bear the brunt of those kinds of decisions,
Okay.
they must also see that the government is also exhibiting, also has that body language of austerity
Empathy.
measure, to make sure that, you cannot tell the people to bear with you because we need to make this decision and, we can have the inflation issue as a fallout of this decision. But then again, you go ahead and buy a private jet. You go ahead and repair your quarters with billions of naira, as you are still living large as you were before, and you want the people to understand and bear the brunt of all of these things. So it has to be both ways. Leadership has to show that see what we are also doing. See why we need to cut down this. See why we need to cut down government spending. See why we need to start patronizing Nigerian-made goods, that we're not even importing cars anymore. We're buying Nigerian-made cars now.
Wow.
You see what I'm saying? So it has to be the leadership has to
embracing
set
Africa in Africa.
the leadership has to set the tone for the followership to follow. You understand what I'm saying? So, and our leaders, unfortunately, they need to be more empathetic. That it's not all the time that they politicize everything. They make it about politics. We need to place more value on human life in this country. I think that is basically my 2 cents for the government. Yeah.
Wow, you have said a lot. I really enjoyed everything we talked about. It's still the breakdown where we talked about every juicy and trending conversation revolving from politics to business. My name is still Onotunde Lopez, and we had, of course, our in-house analyst, Dimeji. How are you doing?
Thank you.
Hope you're good.
Yeah, I'm good.
At one point, I thought Dimeji was supporting the US bullying some people. We don't do bullies, you get. All right, do not forget to comment with us via all our social media platforms. Ensure you follow us, leave a comment which of these headlines or conversations stood out for you. Drop a comment, and see you next time to another breakdown. Do have a splendid moment. Bye.